Good day, everybody. I am Carefree Brony, and today I will be doing a dramatic reading of the story known as Dark Rites. Written by a good friend of mine named Spork Bacon. Prologue. I grew up in the small town of Trottsville, where every pony knew each other's name. I never really knew my parents that well. What I do remember of my mother was that she was a kind, compassionate pony, with skills in making medicines and cure-alls. She had a mane just like mine, black, with red highlights streaked through it. Also, she had a bow in her hair all the time, which no pony would ever catch me in. She was sort of the village doctor, but my father, however, did not reveal his true job to the public, for he was a demon hunter. No pony in Trottsville knew this fact. What people thought he did was help run the pharmacy with my mother. I have my mother's mane and eyes, and my father's tail and personality. My eyes are bluish-green, but sometimes change color based on my mood. My father said that's normal for some white unicorns. My tail looks like a flame, the outside edge of it being black, with the inside being red, like where the blue part of a flame would be normally. I inherited my mother's eye problems. I always wear glasses. I don't know why, but my mother always had glasses on too. I guess it was just genetic. My father always helped his neighbors, making them smile, protecting them, and doing odd jobs around while he was in town. He was almost never in town, though. He was usually out on business. My mother was always so busy making special remedies for the ponies in town that we never had any time for any mother-daughter time together. There was a plague in Trottsville at the time that no pony knew the cure for. Little did the populace know, it was actually a demonic curse that was cast on the town once my family started living there. From what I can tell, it was my dad's fault. He slayed one of the primary demon's sons. The curse was set to get back at him. The curse itself was particularly nasty. The first sign of the disease was your coat would change to a sickening greenish-yellow color. The second, it made your mane and tail fall out and be replaced with a dark purple haze. Thirdly, this affliction would cause your skin to start peeling off. Finally, the fourth stage of the curse, a pony would start to sizzle and melt away, leaving a puddle of hideously smelling fluid, and not a trace of that poor pony at all. My mother never found a cure, even if she is the most medically adept pony I have ever seen. The only way to get rid of a demon curse is to either kill them or ask them politely to stop. I doubt asking one of the most powerful demons in existence would have worked anyway. However, my father knew a type of summoning spell used to call forth demons from the depths of the nether plane into an enchanted golden circle. The circle bound the demon in order for the binder to interrogate them, which was more stable and more powerful than a standard binding spell. Unfortunately, the binding spell was never intended to be used as a means of attacking the demon themselves. One night, after I had gone to bed, my father had summoned the primary demon, known as Cursebearer. Primary demon binding had never been done before. If it had, the kind of power needed would have to be insane, and the binder would have to have been foolish enough to cast it. Apparently, my father had that kind of power. The demon binding was successful. My father mistakenly thought that summoning the demon to the equestria plane in the binding circle would cause him to be powerless. But being a primary demon, he kept all of his powers, even inside the binding circle. How could he have known? Being surprised by the amount of power the demon still had, my father had to quickly channel a spell into the circle to prevent him from escaping. In his panic, however, the spell was unstable and could not hold Cursebearer. This interruption enabled Cursebearer to violently slash my father from chest to throat. My mother, hearing the quickly silenced scream of her husband, ran into my room and told me to get in the attic and to let Mommy handle things. After a while, being too scared to move from the spot she left me sobbing, I decided to move closer to the opening in the ceiling where the entrance to the attic was. What I saw was a scene of pure horror. My father's lifeless body and my mother's blood-stained dress was all I saw when I peeked into the living room. I couldn't control the magic welling into my body at that point. It was as if my mother's and father's magic was coming into me somehow. Suddenly, my horn glowed with a burning intensity. The color of my magic was originally light red, but when my parents' magic fused with mine, it became an aura I have never seen before. It was a deep red with many flickers of black fire floating around it. A sudden smell wafted over me, and I realized immediately what type of magic this was. Demon hunter magic. Originally, I had barely enough power to levitate a book off a shelf, or to hold a candle as I walked around my house at night. My father was always away from home to teach me any spells. I was still young, so I figured I had a while until my true magic power developed anyways. However, the power I would get once I matured was nowhere near the raw energy I felt at that moment. It was incredible. I felt like I could tackle anything. I guess Dad was really powerful, I thought. The combined strength of my magic, my father's demon hunter magic, and my mother's healing magic surged within me. Little did I know at the time, but most demons could sense magic. Naturally, Cursebearer was one of them. I had barely enough time to react to the sudden wave of force emanating from under me. A huge blade sliced through the ceiling of the house where I was just a moment before. Suddenly, a phrase taught to me by my father instantly came to my mind. Before now, I thought it was just some kind of useless catchphrase that he said just to keep me confused. But the power transfer had not only given me my parents' powers, but also some of their knowledge. I only had one chance to seal the demon back into another plane before it would destroy the entire town. I closed my eyes and concentrated, then carefully chanted the phrase out loud. As I did, the glow on my horn intensified, bathing the attic in a dark red light. I drew a pentagon with a circle around it in my head, like I knew what I was doing. The circle had runes and sigils interspersed within. I was sure this was one of my father's spells. I had no memory of learning it. However, there was a faint reminiscence of the spell, like I had learned it many years ago. I mentally levitated the circle in midair and fed my power into it, causing the rampaging demon to carve its way faster into the attic.
No! Cursebearer shrieked. That spell must not be completed!
I had a feeling that Cursebearer knew what I intended to do with him. I focused harder on the spell in order to hurry the cast. Finally, Cursebearer made his way into the small attic with the intent to kill me where I stood. He eagerly stepped forward and prepared his bladed forearm for a vicious strike, the low ceiling cutting his attack speed into an attack I could easily dodge. Still holding the spell in my mind, I danced around Cursebearer, trying to wear him out so I could set the spell I was holding. Suddenly, I saw him charge his own spell. Black fire flickered in his palm. I could tell that this spell would leave me severely wounded, if not dead, if it hit me. I changed the runes within the pentagram of the spell to a shield spell in order to stop the attack. At this point, the spell in his hands swirled and grew into a fireball at least the size of a bowling ball. Not having much time left before he cast it, I finished drawing the rest of the runes into a protective barrier spell and set it in front of me like a shield. Panting at the amount of power I had just used up, I tried to focus again on making a new demon sealing spell to send him back to the nether plane. Reaching critical mass, the demon flung the fireball at my protective shield. It cracked at the edges, but still held.
Perhaps you are more powerful than I imagined. Your mother and father must be so proud. Oh wait, I killed them, he said in a condescending tone. You have no hope, little spellflash. Your parents were pitiful. They weren't even fun to kill.
His fireball surged at my barrier, fracturing it in random directions, with some of the fire starting to leak through.
Something you failed to notice, Cursebearer. I put reflection into my barrier, heh,
I said with a laugh. He gasped and tried to make a barrier spell of his own, but it was too late. My barrier spell had already bounced his fireball back at him. It hit him in the chest with an unnatural intensity not seen in normal flame. Knowing that he would be preoccupied, I set back to work on my sealing spell. Somehow I ignored the primary demon in front of me, and reaching into deep reserves of power I didn't even know I had, I finished the incantation and set the circle directly underneath Cursebearer. With a loud pop, the demon sealing spell went off successfully. A column of black and red light shot upward from the circle, then disappeared a few seconds later, along with Cursebearer.
No!
Shouted Cursebearer as he was cut off by the spell I had just cast. Smoke rose from where the demon sealing circle was. I did it. I forced a primary demon out of our plane of existence. I had never thought I could wield such power. I was still only a filly. My thoughts shot forward to the power I could use when I was older. Suddenly, a small flash appeared on my flank. I looked at it. It was a pentagram surrounded by black fire. My Q mark had appeared. At the time, I knew I'd get it soon, but I never expected demon magic to be what I was best at. I felt a sense of pride at that moment. Father would have been excited to know that his daughter had the skills to continue the family business. I passed out and woke up a few hours later. After regaining some of my composure, I decided it would be best to move on, to find a new town to go to. Since my parents were the only family I had in Trottsville, I needed a new home. Even though it was my family home and the only home I ever known, I knew it wouldn't be safe around here anymore for me. I came to the conclusion that it would be hard to explain the scene of violence to the citizens of Trottsville. I decided that leaving town would be much easier. I walked past the remains of my family. With a sickening twist in my gut, I went to the basement and decided to gather up some demon hunting supplies. I knew I had to carry on my father's legacy and get revenge. I wanted to kill every demon that had caused harm to any pony. I found an old satchel with some vials, herbs, and various other medical instruments. Thanks, Mom, I thought to myself. I noticed I had a few burn marks from the flame that leaked through my barrier. I drank a potion labeled Burn Cure. I opened the nearby closet and looked inside. The door swung open easily. I found a leather pouch with a note on it. I picked it up and read it. It said, "Dearest Spellflash, if you are reading this, you are now alone. I am sorry it came to this. I didn't expect this to happen. Hopefully, the magic transfer spell I used on myself and your mother just before I summoned Cursebearer to our plane worked. Heh. It should have. You wouldn't be reading this if it hadn't. Either way, remember that we love you. Remember that you have the power to accomplish whatever you want in this world. Don't take it for granted, though. We are always with you now. My hunting skills and your mother's healing magic will pass through you like they were our own. The transference spell will gradually give you the information we both knew in our lifetimes. The spell is also designed to become a personal reference book within your mind. With time, you may become one of the best demon hunters we've ever known. Inside the satchel, I put an outfit I had been saving for you when you get older. We were going to train you. Too late for that now, I suppose. As you know, we have relatives all over Equestria. Go visit them and tell them what happened. Love, Daddy." I stared at the hastily scrawled text on the paper for what felt like a long time. I gasped at the sudden realization. My own father had sacrificed himself knowingly.
"But," I mused, "he did give me the means to avenge our family. I can't believe my parents are dead," I thought out loud, the gravity of my parents' death finally hitting me. I fell in a heap on the floor and cried harder than I ever had before. I couldn't blame Dad, though. He was just trying to save every pony. After reading the note and crying for a while, I took a look in the satchel. In the leather pouch, I found a few bracelets, 2 pairs of black leather boots, and a leather vest. As I looked around some more, I found a large stack of important-looking books on demons and decided to throw them into the satchel, and then set off on the road to a new town for a fresh start.